Welcome everyone to a wonderful chat we're about to have with Werner on their intermodal offerings. And I'm very excited today to bring you, of course, Nathan Brown, the Vice President of Logistics for Werner as well. Nathan, thank you so much for joining me for this chat.
Grace, it's good to be with you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite and growing areas of logistics. I think we've seen a lot of action in intermodal in terms of acquisitions, mergers, et cetera, over the last couple of years. I think it's a mode that's not often used as much or considered as much as it should be. So I'm really excited to hear about your offerings. But could you, just to start this off, describe overall Werner's intermodal capabilities and what sets you apart from others out there as well?
Yeah. So obviously, our roots are in the truckload business. I think to start first and foremost, I'd say coverage. I mean, we're both a non-asset and an asset provider in the intermodal space. So, I think that as a customer, you kind of get the best of both worlds. But from an approach standpoint, I mean, I think just planning and listening would be differentiators. I mean, you go to your customer, you set out a plan. Some of them may or may not have been exposed to intermodal in the past. And so it's really listening to their needs and then trying to engineer a solution that differentiates us. Part of that differentiation, I think, is certainly the truckload solutions that we have. We've got a legacy trucking organization that we leverage from a drayage standpoint. And then, looking at coverage, right? It's really North America. We've got a lot of expertise with our history in Mexico. And we try to parlay that into the existing services we have, domestically, in the United States and also Canada. And so we're excited about where we're at. We're relatively new to the asset game. We've been a non-asset provider in the intermodal space for quite some time, but we're very bullish about the future and excited about our position, where we are and where we're going.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of times people don't understand the network that needs to be available in order to pull off a really positive intermodal experience. Can you maybe expand on Werner's overall market when it comes to the drayage network? I think is a huge part of it. Expanding your fleet as well. How does that contribute to the overall efficiency of being able to provide an intermodal experience?
Yeah. So I touched a little bit on our trucking history and expertise. Certainly that plays into what we do on the drayage side, right? So, we have a relatively new fleet. I think one of the newest fleets in the industry. So the reliability that we have on the drayage side with our equipment, I think, is second to none. Certainly we have expertise in driver hiring. We've got a lot of schools across our network where we hire and train and retain the best drivers in the industry. And so, from a coverage standpoint, I think that helps us. Certainly there is an aspect of third-party relationships. I think in every market in the country. I mean, we've got long-standing relationships with some of our smaller partners have been with us for a long time, and then certainly some of the bigger players in the industry on the drayage side. And I think when you put that all together, again, touching on the asset space, the non-asset space, we're able to kind of engineer solutions that fit our customers' needs.
Definitely. And, it's interesting because I think, like I said, I've noticed a lot of action within the intermodal space and like yourself, right? Like Werner has been doing and investing more for its customers as well. Can you tell me how you feel that aligns with current market conditions, where we're seeing rates and everything today, and why this offering maybe has been more popular amongst shippers and customers that you're speaking to?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, in 2024 more than ever, I mean, your cost to execute is under pressure, right? I mean, certainly cost is important. When you look at an intermodal solution, our biggest competition is truckload. And I'm saying that as part of a trucking organization as well. And so, to me, it's a complement to what we do. But when a customer thinks about intermodal, you're certainly thinking about cost. You're certainly thinking about sustainability, right? Being able to offer that to a customer is a big deal. And a lot of that comes with education. When you think about drayage, how are you managing your drayage? How are you managing your end-to-end shipments with your customers are, cost is one thing, but then you get into transit, you get into service. Are you comparable to a truckload lane when it comes to how quickly you can get it there? And then just educating customers on the sustainability aspects of intermodal. You're going to reduce your carbon footprint if you choose that mode. Now, there's certainly barriers, right? If you're talking about a 3-day truckload lane and a 5-day intermodal lane, we've got to kind of action through that, and some of that is planning, how customers plan their business or plan shipments from a DC to a customer, or from an import or consolidation facility into a DC. But it's not all or nothing to me. We do have a lot of customers that they may be 100% intermodal on a specific lane, but they may be 50-50 between truckload and intermodal. And it starts with really planning. If you need some of it quicker, and you can afford to add a day or two of transit on other business, then it may make sense to split it 50-50. And the other piece is too, we try to engineer and work with our railroad partners to be comparable with truck. We try to compete with that transit. I would say, if you look at the future, how do we compete better? It's, what are the differences between the two modes? Some of it's transit. Some of it might be, at times it can be service reliability. And those are things that we work through and have worked through over time to close the gap for our valued customers.
On that note, I'm interested, can you provide any real world examples of where your customers have actually realized and seen the benefits from considering intermodal and working that more into their supply chains?
Yeah. I think certainly one of the things I didn't touch on, other than cost and sustainability, would be capacity. I think right now the environment you're in, on the West Coast, you're kind of on holiday peak shipping season. There's a little bit more pressure on the market there. We've obviously had some disruption with some of the ILA activity out east, that slowed things down for a couple days. It's really important for customers to have a diversified supply chain. And if you're too reliant on one mode, it may not bite you all the time, but there's going to be periods or ebbs and flows and events that happen in the supply chain that can disrupt you. So we've had, really some recent examples of success working with customers that maybe were 100% truckload previously in traditional intermodal lanes, and some of that was just old policies within their organization, and some of that was just lack of education, right? And so going back to those customers, and again, educating them on costs, educating them on transit, educating them on sustainability, and working together to come up with a solution that complements their supply chain, saves them money. One thing that doesn't get talked about, at least publicly enough, we always hear about driver shortage, right? We hear about challenges hiring drivers in certain markets, especially in the intermodal world. I mean, you can handle, in the drayage world, if you're going to handle 5 loads a day, truckload from Dallas to Los Angeles, that's 5 drivers that you're taking out of the Dallas market, and they're probably back in a week, right? You could take those same 5 shipments, Dallas to Los Angeles, and take one driver and do those local drays, and run those shipments intermodal, and that driver's home every night. And you're handling more freight with less drivers, and that you're, again, coming from a legacy trucking organization. I mean, we have that conversation all the time. It's a compliment. It's not an either, it's an and proposition. But those are the things we talk to our customers about, relative to our business or their business, and how we can help them find solutions.
Definitely. And so it sounds like and we touched on this lightly, but in terms of like lanes or regions, it sounds like Werner is able to touch every piece of the United States domestically as well. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, certainly. I touched on the asset and the non-asset solutions, right? So our legacy is a rail-owned container solution. that really spans all of North America. When you invest in assets, and certainly we're not the only provider out there with assets, you are confined to the assets you have, right? So we have a little bit more flexibility having both solutions today, and that allows us to cover most of the United States. It's funny, you talk about emerging markets or where we expect to see growth. We're celebrating 25 years in Mexico this year. So we've been doing business for 25 years in Mexico, and I'll be down in Mexico City next week, and kind of recognizing our team and celebrating that. But that is certainly a market that we've seen additional activity out of, and we're trying to build around for all of our solutions, intermodal and beyond, to kind of move forward as we see a big growth opportunity there, and that's certainly going to continue.
Yeah, nearshoring is hot over here. We're covering it as much as we can over at FreightWaves, and happy to see that those investments have already been made, right? So as that continues to grow, that offering is there for shippers as well. Now, speaking of the future and innovation, what makes you excited about Werner's capabilities and the future of intermodal shipping as well, just as a whole?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with technology. Simply an easy buzzword, to touch on would be technology, but it's giving customers visibility. Trying to close the gaps that we previously had in our supply chain. A lot of our newer equipment we're investing in, not just GPS and telematics, which those have been around for a long time, but cameras inside the units that allows for more real-time action around their shipments. Knowing when equipment is still loaded or potentially empty, so we can utilize it for another customer. That certainly gives us an advantage. Knowing when our equipment is able to be utilized. And then, you think about the alternative energies out there. I mean, certainly we talk about intermodal being sustainable, and a lot of coverage is being had on what's going on in the truckload sector with natural gas or electric trucks. I mean, that plays into the drayage world as well, right? I mean, we talk about sustainability, for intermodal, but also for drayage, right? I mean, we have the newest fleet in America burning diesel cleaner than we ever have in history, and then we've got some of those other alternative energies, the electric trucks, the hydrogen trucks, things like that we're piloting as a fleet, and that gets me excited. Not only with what intermodal can do today, but you add that sprinkle that in on the drayage side. We're really making a difference. We're talking about leaving our communities in a better place than we found them. And so to me, that's exciting beyond the business opportunity that I think is out there. Working with our customers, it's some of the innovations, on the sustainability side.
For sure. And for all those out there watching today, if they're interested in learning more from you or learning more about intermodal offerings, what's the best place for them to go to?
Certainly, we advertise pretty heavily. You go to Werner.com. Certainly we have that available to folks. I mean, we've got our account reps on the sales side available in every market. You all know who I am now. Obviously, I mean, certainly contact me. But we talk to customers every day about those benefits and what we're doing out in the marketplace. We're very heavily involved in social media advertising what our organization is doing, not just on the intermodal side, but across the supply chain. And we're certainly available to talk about solutions for all of our customers, or just listen to what they have going on.
Yeah, and again, love this. I think this is an emerging area in supply chain that we're going to see more and more offerings in. So happy to see that Werner's already there, made the investments, and there to help out customers as well. Of course, everyone go check out their website. But until then, Nathan, thank you so much for talking with us today and giving us an idea of what we can expect service-wise from the company as well.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Grace. It was good catching up with you, as always.